She married a man who couldn't move, couldn't speak, and couldn't open his eyes, fully believing he would never hear a word she said. What she didn't know was that from the very first night, Raymond Blackwood heard everything. The wedding was quiet, almost obscene in its simplicity, considering the price tag attached to it. 30 million. That was what her life was worth to her parents. 30 million to replace the daughter they had raised for 20 years with the daughter who shared their blood. Ava stood beside the hospital bed that doubled as a groom's altar, her fingers clenched so tightly into the lace of her borrowed wedding dress that her knuckles burned. The man lying before her was pale, motionless, tubes trailing from his body like accusations. His chest rose and fell steadily, mechanically, as if even breathing had been outsourced. "This is ridiculous," her mother hissed under her breath, adjusting her jewelry. "Hurry it up." Ava didn't look at her. She couldn't. If she did, she might scream. The officiant cleared his throat. "Do you take this man?" "Yes," Ava said sharply before he could finish. A ripple of discomfort passed through the room. Even the doctor standing nearby shifted uneasily. "Good," her father muttered. "At least she knows her role." The ring slid onto her finger, cold, heavy, like a shackle. And just like that, she became Mrs. Raymond Blackwood, the wife of a man everyone believed was already halfway to the grave. What none of them knew was that deep inside his unmoving body, Raymond was screaming. He had been trapped in darkness for months. No sense of time, no control, only sound, voices drifting in and out, doctors, machines, cold conversations about his chances, about whether it was worth keeping him alive. But her voice, that was new, clear, sharp, shaking but strong. "Yes," she had said. Raymond tried to move, tried to open his eyes. Nothing happened. Panic clawed at him, but he forced it down. He had learned early that panic got him nowhere. He listened instead. After the room cleared, after signatures were signed and money was transferred, Ava was left alone with him for the first time. She stood there for a long moment, silent. Then she laughed. It wasn't soft or amused. It was brittle, exhausted, dangerous. "So," she said, dropping her bouquet onto the chair, "this is my life now." Raymond's heart stuttered. She walked closer, heels clicking against the floor. "Do you know what they call you?" she asked, voice lowering. "A vegetable, a body with money, a burden." She leaned closer to his bed. "I don't even know if you can hear me, but it doesn't matter. Talking to you is easier than talking to them." Raymond strained against his body, desperate to react, to let her know he was there. "Nothing." Ava exhaled shakily. "My fiancé slept with my sister. Did you know that? The same sister my parents had been crying over for 20 years. The moment she came back, I became disposable." Her voice cracked, just slightly. "They gave me two choices: marry you or leave with nothing." She laughed again, bitter. "Guess which one I chose." Raymond listened, every word branding itself into his mind. "They think I'm stupid," she continued. "They think I'll sit here and cry while they enjoy the money your name brings." She reached out and touched his hand. Her fingers were warm, steady. "I won't." Raymond felt something dangerous bloom in his chest. "I don't know how long you'll last," Ava said quietly. "But while you're here, I'm going to use this marriage. I'm going to use your name. And if the rumors are true, your inheritance." Her grip tightened. "I refuse to be the only one who loses." Raymond's pulse thundered. "Use inheritance. His family." She straightened abruptly, as if embarrassed by her own honesty. "Don't worry. I won't hurt you. I'm not a monster." She paused. "I just need you to stay alive long enough." That night, the mansion felt more like a hospital than a home. Ava wandered the halls barefoot, the echo of her steps swallowed by marble and shadows. Everywhere she looked were reminders of a life that wasn't hers. Cold portraits, sterile furniture, staff who avoided her eyes. A middle-aged housekeeper finally spoke. "Madam, your room is this way." Ava followed her, then stopped.
"No."
The woman hesitated. "Excuse me." "I'll stay with him," Ava said. In his room, the housekeeper's lips parted. But I'm his wife, Ava said flatly. Isn't that what everyone wanted? Later, alone again, Ava sat beside Raymond's bed, exhaustion crashing into her all at once. She kicked off her shoes. You're lucky, she muttered. You get to sleep through all this. Raymond wished he could tell her she was wrong. She rested her head back against the chair. Silence stretched between them. Then she whispered, I'm scared. The word hit Raymond harder than anything else she'd said. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. I don't know how to survive in a world where no one wants me unless I'm useful. She wiped at her eyes angrily. I hate them. I hate my parents. I hate my sister. And I hate that I still want them to regret it. Raymond felt something shift inside him. Something protective, something sharp. Ava leaned forward again, voice dropping. They think you're helpless, that you can't hear or see or remember. She smiled faintly. So do I. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and scoffed. A text from her mother. Make sure you do your duty. The Blackwoods are watching. Ava turned the phone face down. They want an heir, she said calmly. Can you believe that? A baby from a man who can't even open his eyes. Raymond's breath caught. I don't know how, she continued. IVF probably. Something clinical. Disgusting. She met his unseeing gaze. But if that's what it takes to secure my position, I'll do it. Raymond's mind reeled. An heir. His heir. Planned without his consent. Without his knowledge. If he could move, he would have stopped her. If he could speak, he would have warned her. Instead, he listened. Days passed. Ava learned the routine. Doctors in the morning. Nurses in the afternoon. Family visits that were nothing more than inspections. Raymond's uncle stood at the foot of the bed one afternoon, arms crossed. Any change? No, the doctor replied. His condition is stable. Stable isn't good enough, the uncle said coolly. We need to know how long this farce will last. Ava's nails dug into her palms. He's not a farce. The room stilled. The uncle glanced at her, surprised, then amused. Careful, dear. You married a body, not a man. Raymond burned with rage. Ava stepped closer to the bed. I married your nephew, she said evenly. And as long as he's breathing, I'm his wife. The uncle smirked. For now. That night, Ava leaned close to Raymond and whispered, I don't know if you heard that, but I meant every word. Raymond wished he could tell her he had heard everything. Very late, when the mansion slept, Ava sat beside him again, voice barely above a whisper. I'll protect what's mine, she said, even if I have to become someone I don't recognize. Her fingers brushed his wrist. And this time, just barely, Raymond felt it. Raymond learned quickly that pretending to be helpless gave him power he'd never had before. The first time he tested it, it was accidental. Ava was arguing with a nurse, her voice tight with restrained fury. You can't change his medication without informing me. It's standard procedure, the nurse replied impatiently. I don't care, Ava snapped. I'm his wife. Raymond focused, pushing against the heaviness in his fingers. A fraction of movement, barely there. The nurse froze. Did you see that? Ava turned sharply. Her breath caught. What? I thought. The nurse frowned, then shook her head. Never mind. Reflex. Ava stared at Raymond's hand for a long, dangerous second. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure it would give her away. When the nurse left, Ava leaned over him, eyes scanning his face desperately. Raymond? She whispered. Can you hear me? Raymond stayed perfectly still. Ava sagged back into the chair, pressing a hand to her chest. God, don't do that to me. Raymond almost smiled. That night, she talked more than usual. Every time they come here, it's like they're waiting for you to die, she said bitterly. Your uncle barely hides it. Your cousin doesn't hide it at all. She scoffed. They don't even look at you. They look at the machines. Like you're already gone. Raymond memorized every name, every tone, every threat. Ava crossed her arms. They think I'm nothing. Placeholder. A womb with a ring. Her voice hardened. They're wrong. The next test was deliberate. Ava was on the phone with her lawyer, pacing the room. I don't care how airtight the clause is. I need assurance. If he dies, I won't be thrown out with nothing. She stopped pacing. Yes, I understand the risks. Raymond waited. I'm not saying I want him dead, Ava said sharply. I just need to survive. Raymond focused again. This time, his fingers twitched twice. Ava's phone slipped from her hand and clattered to the floor. She turned slowly, dread creeping into her eyes. Raymond! Silence. She stepped closer, searching his face for any sign. Her breath trembled. If this is some sick joke. Nothing. Ava laughed weakly. I'm losing my mind. She picked up her phone and whispered, I can't afford hope. Raymond felt an unfamiliar ache. He hadn't expected guilt to be part of this. Days turned into weeks. Ava became sharper, stronger, less afraid to meet the Blackwood's eyes. At dinner one evening, Raymond's cousin smirked across the table. You're very devoted for a temporary wife. Ava smiled sweetly. Temporary things tend to be fragile. I'm not. The cousin laughed. Careful. You'll forget your place. Ava leaned forward. I know exactly where I stand. Raymond listened from upstairs, anger simmering. He couldn't protect her yet, but soon. That night, Ava sat beside him, exhaustion etched into her face. They want me pregnant within the year, she said quietly. They think that will tie me down. She glanced at his still form. I don't even know if you'd hate me for it. Raymond did hate the idea, but not for the reason she thought. I won't do it without your consent, she added suddenly. I don't care what they say. Raymond's chest tightened. I talk a lot, she murmured. You're probably sick of my voice. He wasn't. Ava sighed. You know what scares me most? If you wake up, you'll hate me. Raymond wanted to tell her she was wrong. But then she whispered, because I've thought about letting go. The words were soft, honest, terrifying. Some nights, I wonder if it would be easier if this ended, she confessed. If you died peacefully and I could just walk away. Raymond's pulse spiked. But then I look at you, she said, voice breaking, and I can't do it. She pressed her forehead lightly against his arm. So don't wake up just to punish me, okay? Raymond made a decision in that moment. He would wake up on his own terms. The next escalation came from his family. Raymond's uncle visited late, after most staff had gone home. Ava stood as he entered, spine straight. I'll be brief, the uncle said. We're transferring Raymond to a private facility. Ava's stomach dropped. Why? Because you're too attached, he replied bluntly. And attachments cloud judgment. He's my husband. He's our asset. Ava's hands trembled. You can't. We already have, he said. Tomorrow morning. After he left, Ava locked the door and collapsed beside Raymond's bed. They're taking you away, she whispered frantically. If they do, I'll lose everything. I won't be able to protect you. She grabbed his hand. You can't let them. Raymond felt her desperation like a blade to the ribs. That night, he pushed harder than ever before. His breathing stuttered. Ava bolted upright. Raymond! His eyelids fluttered just once. Ava gasped, tears springing instantly. Oh my God! Oh my God! I saw that. Raymond forced stillness again. Ava covered her mouth, sobbing quietly. You're trying to wake up. You are. She laughed through tears. I knew it. I knew you weren't gone. Raymond felt something twist painfully in his chest. The next morning, doctors flooded the room. There's been neurological response, one said cautiously. Minimal but promising. The uncle's jaw tightened. So he's waking up? Not yet, the doctor replied. But this changes things. The transfer was postponed. That night, Ava leaned close to Raymond, eyes shining with hope and fear. You did that, didn't you? Raymond stayed silent. She smiled softly. Thank you. The guilt nearly crushed him. Ava changed after that. She stopped talking about escape, about heirs, about revenge. Instead, she talked about the future. "I'd take you away from here," she said one night. "Somewhere quiet. Somewhere no one knows us." Raymond wanted that too, more than he was ready to admit. But secrets rot when they stay buried too long, and his silence was becoming one. One evening, Ava argued with her sister on the phone, voice trembling with rage. "You took everything from me." A pause. "No," Ava said coldly. "You can't have this too." She hung up and turned toward Raymond, shaking. "They want me to give you up, to divorce you." She laughed bitterly. "After everything." She leaned down, voice raw. "If you wake up and tell them you don't want me, I won't fight it." Raymond realized then how much power his truth held, and how devastating it would be when he finally used it. Raymond stopped pretending after that night. He didn't wake up, not fully, but he crossed a line he couldn't uncross. Silence was no longer enough. Observation wasn't enough. Ava was being crushed under expectations, threats, and guilt, and his stillness was becoming another weight on her chest. So he began to intervene, subtly, carefully, in ways no one could accuse him of anything. The first sign came during a meeting with the family lawyer. Ava sat stiffly on the couch, hands folded in her lap as the lawyer droned on. "Given Mr. Blackwood's condition, the family believes it's best to revise the inheritance structure." Ava's jaw tightened. "Revise how?" "Certain assets may be reassigned until Mr. Blackwood regains full consciousness." "That's not what the will states," Ava said. The lawyer adjusted his glasses. "The family has influence." Raymond felt anger surge. His heartbeat spiked. The monitor beside the bed reacted instantly. The lawyer stopped mid-sentence. "What was that?" A nurse leaned closer to the screen. "Heart rate spike." Ava stood. "What does that mean?" "It could indicate emotional stimulation," the nurse said slowly. The lawyer cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should postpone." After they left, Ava turned to Raymond, eyes wide. "You didn't like that, did you?" She laughed softly, incredulous. "You're protecting me." Raymond stayed still, but inside, something dangerous bloomed. Satisfaction. From that day on, Ava started treating him differently. She spoke to him like a partner instead of a burden. She updated him on decisions. She asked his opinion, even knowing she wouldn't get an answer. "I told them no," she said one evening, pacing the room. "No revisions. No transfers." They didn't like it. She glanced at him. "I hope that's okay." Raymond wanted to say yes. Instead, his breathing evened out, calm and steady. Ava smiled. "I'll take that as approval." But peace never lasted long in the Blackwood house. Raymond's cousin confronted Ava in the hallway 2 days later. "You're getting bold." Ava didn't slow her steps. "I learned from the best." "You think a few heart flutters make you untouchable?" Ava stopped and turned. "I think you're afraid." The cousin scoffed. "Afraid of what?" "A woman married to a corpse." Ava stepped closer, voice icy. "Careful. Corpses don't defend themselves. But husbands do." Raymond heard every word from upstairs. That night, Ava was quiet. She sat beside Raymond, twisting her fingers together. "I lied earlier," she said softly. "I am scared." She swallowed. "Because if you wake up, everything changes." Raymond listened. "You'll see what I've said, what I've planned, how selfish I've been." She laughed weakly. "I don't even know if you'd stay married to me." Raymond felt something crack inside him. Ava leaned closer. "But I don't regret marrying you." Her voice dropped. "You're the only reason I haven't fallen apart." Raymond wanted to reach for her. He couldn't. Instead, he did the only thing he could. He squeezed her hand. Just once. Ava froze. Her breath hitched. "Raymond." The pressure was faint but unmistakable. Tears welled instantly in her eyes. "You're here," she whispered. "You're really here." Raymond released his grip, heart racing. Ava pressed both hands to her mouth, shoulders shaking. "I'm not crazy. I'm not." She laughed through tears. "You heard me, haven't you?" Raymond stayed silent. Ava wiped her eyes, suddenly panicked. "Oh God, How much? Her voice dropped to a whisper. Did you hear the bad things? Raymond's chest ached. I didn't mean all of them, she said quickly. I was angry. I was desperate. She stood abruptly and paced. This is bad. This is really bad. She stopped in front of him again, voice trembling. If you wake up and hate me, I'll accept it. Raymond wanted to scream that he didn't, that he admired her strength, that he understood her rage, that he'd do far worse in her place. But he stayed still. Ava took a deep breath. Okay, I can do this. She straightened. If you're awake, even a little, then we start over. She smiled softly. No more plans. No more revenge. Raymond knew that was a lie, and so did she. The family noticed the change almost immediately. She's calmer, Raymond's aunt murmured during a visit. Confident. The uncle narrowed his eyes. Or reckless. That evening, Ava was summoned to a private dinner. Raymond listened as she dressed, her movements tense. They want to test me, she muttered. See if I'll slip. She leaned over him. Wish me luck. The dinner was brutal. So, the uncle said smoothly, swirling his wine. Any progress? Ava met his gaze. Yes. The table stilled. Oh? The cousin said mockingly. Do tell. He responds to emotional stimulus, Ava said evenly. Stress affects his vitals. The uncle smiled thinly. How convenient. You can arrange all the transfers you want, Ava continued. But if his condition worsens because of it, that blood will be on your hands. Silence. The uncle leaned back. You're threatening us now? I'm warning you, Ava replied. As his wife. Raymond felt pride surge. The uncle laughed. You're getting attached. Ava smiled. So are you. That night, Ava returned furious. They think I'm bluffing, she snapped. They think you're just a tool I'm using. She sat heavily beside Raymond. Maybe I was, at first. Her voice softened. But now, I don't want to lose you. Raymond's breathing deepened unconsciously. Ava noticed. She froze, then laughed quietly. You always do that when I say that. She leaned closer, resting her forehead against his shoulder. You make this harder. Her closeness sent a jolt through him. He could smell her shampoo, feel the warmth of her skin. He wanted more. That was the problem. The next escalation came fast. Raymond's cousin visited alone. I know you can hear me, he said casually, standing at the foot of the bed. Ava stiffened. What are you talking about? The cousin smirked. I've seen the signs. Ava's heart pounded. You're lying. Maybe, he said. Or maybe I'm offering a deal. Ava crossed her arms. I'm listening. If Raymond wakes up, the cousin said lightly. He won't choose you. Ava swallowed. You don't know that. He's a Blackwood, the cousin replied. He'll side with blood. Ava's voice trembled. Get out. The cousin leaned closer. You should leave before he wakes up. After he left, Ava collapsed beside Raymond, shaking. They'll take you from me, she whispered, or turn you against me. She pressed her face into his arm. I don't know which scares me more. Raymond's decision crystallized in that moment. He would wake up. Soon. But not before ensuring that when he did, no one would ever hurt her again. Raymond woke up at 3 in the morning. Not gradually. Not gently. One moment there was weight and fog. The next there was pain, sharp, bright, undeniable. His lungs burned as if they'd been asleep too long. His fingers curled reflexively, nails biting into his palm. He almost made a sound. Almost. Instinct saved him. Years of discipline, of control. He forced himself to stillness, heart hammering so hard he was sure it would betray him. He was awake, fully, and Ava was asleep in the chair beside him, her head tilted awkwardly, hair falling over her face. There was a faint crease between her brows, even in sleep, like she never truly rested. Raymond stared at her, really stared. This was the woman who had married him believing him half dead. The woman who had plotted, confessed, cried, raged, defended him. The woman who had nearly broken under the weight of his family while he lay there listening. He flexed his fingers again, slowly, testing. It worked. His arm felt weak, but it moved. He could open his eyes. He didn't. Not yet. Because waking up wasn't the most dangerous part. Being seen was. Ava shifted in her sleep and murmured his name. Raymond. The sound of it, soft, unguarded, hit him harder than any threat ever had. He stayed still until her breathing evened out again. That was the moment he chose deception. From that night on, Raymond lived two lives. By day, he was the same unmoving patient. Doctors came and went. Nurses charted his vitals. Family members spoke freely around him. Unaware, they were now standing in front of a man who remembered every insult. By night, when the room emptied and Ava stayed, he opened his eyes. Only for seconds at first. Then minutes. He studied the room, the cameras, the monitors, the angles. He listened to Ava breathe. The first time she caught him was inevitable. She had been talking, venting softly, like she always did, about a meeting with the board. "They don't respect me," she said quietly. "But I didn't back down." She smiled tiredly. "I think you'd be proud of me." Raymond opened his eyes. Ava froze. Her heart slammed so hard it made her dizzy. "Raymond?" she whispered. He looked straight at her. For a heartbeat, neither of them moved. Then Ava stumbled backward like she'd been struck. "Oh my God," she breathed. "Oh my God." Raymond closed his eyes again immediately, panic flaring. He hadn't planned it like this. He hadn't. Ava rushed to his side, hands shaking as she hovered over him. "No. No, don't you dare take this back." She laughed hysterically, tears streaming. "You can't let me see that and then disappear again." Raymond opened his eyes once more. Slowly, deliberately. This time he held her gaze. Ava sank into the chair, knees weak. "You're awake," she whispered. "You're really awake." He swallowed. His throat burned. His voice felt foreign and used. "Ava," he said hoarsely. She sobbed. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't controlled. She covered her face and cried like she'd been holding it in for months. "I'm sorry," she said over and over. "I'm so sorry. For everything." Raymond watched her, chest tight. "How long?" she asked suddenly, looking up. "How long have you been awake?" He hesitated. This was the moment. The truth or the lie. "Tonight," he said. It was the first lie he'd told her. Ava exhaled shakily, relief washing over her. "Thank God." She laughed weakly. "You have no idea what I've said in this room." Raymond met her eyes. "I have an idea." She smiled nervously. "I must sound insane." "You sounded honest," he replied. Her smile faded. "Raymond, if you knew." "I don't," he said gently. "Not yet." Another lie. She studied his face, searching. "You don't hate me?" "No," he said immediately. The word came out before he could stop it. Ava's breath hitched. "Why not?" "Because you stayed," Raymond said quietly. "When everyone else wanted me gone." She laughed softly. "I stayed because I had no choice." He shook his head, weak but certain. "You had choices." Silence stretched between them, charged and fragile. From that moment on, everything shifted. Raymond was awake, but only to Ava. To the rest of the world, he was still unconscious. Weak, unaware. Ava became his accomplice without even realizing it. She adjusted his pillows when staff came, covered for his improving strength, redirected doctors when they asked too many questions. "You're enjoying this?" she accused one night, half smiling. Raymond shrugged. "I'm learning." She frowned. "Learning what?" "How many people want me dead?" She went still. "Raymond, I heard enough," he said quietly. "Before tonight. Enough to know who I can trust." She swallowed. "And me?" He looked at her for a long moment. "I trust you with my life." Her eyes shone. "Even after everything?" "Especially after," he said. That was when the line blurred. They talked late into the night. About his childhood, her betrayal, his family's cruelty, her loneliness. Sometimes she forgot he was supposed to be fragile and argued with him fiercely. "You're infuriating," she snapped once. "You don't even know how close you came to losing everything." "I know," he replied calmly. "Because you saved it." She stared at him, caught off guard. "You give me too much credit." "No," he said. "I didn't give you enough before." One night, after an especially tense family dinner, Ava returned shaking with anger. "They're planning something," she said. "I can feel it." Raymond reached for her hand. She let him. "They won't touch you," he said softly. "Not anymore." She laughed bitterly. "You don't have that kind of power yet." Raymond's gaze hardened. "They don't know that." That was when Ava realized something terrifying. He wasn't just recovering. He was calculating. The first strike came quietly. Raymond leaked information through Ava, harmless at first. Test information. Names. Reactions. The cousin took the bait. The uncle slipped. By the time they realized Raymond was conscious enough to manipulate outcomes, it was already too late. One night, Ava confronted him. "You're not just pretending to be weak," she said. "You're setting them up." Raymond didn't deny it. "They tried to erase me." "And you?" she asked softly. "Am I part of the plan?" He looked at her carefully. "Do you feel like you are?" Ava hesitated. That was answer enough. She turned away. "I don't want to be collateral damage." "You won't be," he said firmly. "I won't let them hurt you." Her voice trembled. "You don't get to promise that." He stood. "Fully." Ava gasped, backing away. "Raymond." "I do," he said, steady on his feet. "Because I'm done lying down." She stared at him like she was seeing him for the first time. "You're dangerous," she whispered. "Yes," he agreed. "So are you." The tension between them snapped tight, heavy with things neither of them was ready to say. Outside the room, footsteps approached. Raymond lay back down instantly, breath controlled. Ava turned just in time to see the door open. His uncle stepped inside, eyes sharp. "Any change?" he asked. Ava smiled slowly. "Not yet." But as she glanced back at Raymond, she realized the truth. Everything had already changed. The morning light filtered through the heavy curtains, but inside the Blackwood mansion, everything had already shifted. Raymond's uncle arrived first, brisk and commanding, expecting the same limp body he had always known. "Status report," he demanded, looking at the monitors with a practiced coldness. Ava, standing beside the bed, smiled faintly. "No change," she said, voice calm, steady. But her eyes betrayed everything. She didn't have to say more. Raymond stirred subtly beneath the sheets. A twitch of his fingers, a shift of his shoulders. Enough to make the uncle pause. "What's this?" he asked, narrowing his eyes. He was supposed to be stable. Minimal improvement. "Explain." "I think he's reacting to stress," Ava replied, deliberately casual. "Perhaps emotional stimuli affects him more than expected." The uncle's mouth thinned. "Emotional stimuli? That's absurd." "What do you mean?" Ava's smile deepened. "I mean, he responds to the world, to attention, to care. Perhaps someone who understands him." The uncle's eyes flicked toward the bed. "You?" he spat. "You're manipulating him." "I'm his wife," Ava said simply. "And I know what's best for him." The tension crackled in the room. Raymond's chest rose steadily beneath the blankets, silent, but every beat was a declaration. He didn't need to speak yet. The world would know soon enough. That night, after everyone left, Ava sat beside him. Her hands trembled as she reached for his. "Raymond," she whispered, voice low. "It's all coming apart. They're trying to find a way to force me out. To take you." Raymond's fingers flexed against hers. A slow, deliberate squeeze that made her gasp. "You're awake," she breathed, tears in her eyes. You've been playing along." "Yes," he said, voice hoarse but steady. "I needed to see, to know who to trust, to know how far they'd go." She shook her head. "You could have told me. Her voice faltered. "I would have done anything differently." "You were perfect," he said quietly. Even when you thought I was unconscious. Even when you planned everything. Ava swallowed, a tremor in her lips. I've done things I'm not proud of, she admitted. Elite. Plotted. I tried to survive. And I used you. Raymond pressed a finger to her lips. You didn't use me. You protected us both. And you loved with what you had. She looked at him, stunned. Loved? Even after everything? Yes, he said simply. Especially after everything. The next days were a whirlwind. Raymond began to walk, slowly, carefully. Ava guided him, watched over him, laughed when he stumbled and cursed when a muscle tightened. But the power dynamic had shifted entirely. Now it was him who decided the pace, who chose the battles, who watched the Blackwoods like a predator in waiting. The family tried everything. Threats, inspections, subtle manipulations. But Raymond was awake. Every threat bounced off him. Every scheme collapsed before it even began. And Ava, once cautious, now stood proudly at his side, fully his partner, fully aware of the strength that surged between them. One evening, after a tense dinner where the uncle had tried to assert control, Raymond and Ava retreated to his room. She dropped onto the chair, exhausted, shaking. I can't believe it, she whispered. They actually think they have power over us. They have no idea. Raymond sat beside her, steady and strong. They never did, he said. Not when I was listening. Not now. Her hands found his again. I was so scared, she admitted softly. Scared that you'd wake and hate me. Raymond shook his head. I've never hated you. I've never stopped watching, waiting, feeling for you. You've been the only constant, the only one who stayed. Ava leaned into him, a laugh breaking through her tears. I stayed because I had no choice, she said, remembering all the nights she had sat alone with him. And yet, now I wouldn't have left. Raymond smiled faintly, brushing her hair back from her face. Good, because you're not leaving. Not ever. Her lips trembled into a smile, and for the first time in months, she felt safe, fully safe, with him, against the world. The days that followed were carefully orchestrated. Raymond took control slowly, intentionally, revealing his full strength only when absolutely necessary. He confronted the cousin, exposed the uncle's schemes, and secured the household. And through it all, Ava stayed by his side, a fierce partner, equal in resolve, equal in courage. One night, they sat together in the quiet of his study. The mansion was silent, and for once, it felt like their own. Ava rested her head on his shoulder, and he held her close. Do you know what I realized? She murmured. What? That I've fallen in love with a man who already knows my darkest truths, who's seen every flaw, every fear, every plan, and hasn't left. Raymond kissed her forehead softly. And you've loved a man who was lost, but never gone, who was awake even when you didn't know it. They laughed softly, tears mingling with relief, with desire, with everything that had brought them to this moment. Outside, the Blackwoods seethed, powerless. Inside, two people who had survived betrayal, plotting, and near despair finally found each other fully. Ava pulled back slightly, smiling with exhaustion and joy. We did it, she whispered. Raymond nodded, eyes shining. Together. And in that quiet, in that moment, they knew it was only the beginning. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more, make sure to like this video, comment your favorite moment, and subscribe to Urban Folks TV so you never miss the next dark romance tale.